The hidden psychology of people who weren't loved as children. Have you ever noticed how some people apologize for simply existing? They say sorry when someone else bumps into them. They hesitate before sharing an opinion. They laugh quietly. They ask for almost nothing. It's as if they're trying to disappear before they become a burden. Most people call it insecurity. Psychology tells a different story. Sometimes those habits begin in childhood, not because someone was beaten or abandoned, but because they grew up in a home where love was always just out of reach. A father who was physically present but emotionally absent. A mother who was overwhelmed and never had warmth left to give. A house that looked normal from the outside but felt strangely cold on the inside. Children don't understand emotional neglect. They simply assume one heartbreaking thing. Maybe I'm the reason love feels so far away. That belief doesn't arrive all at once. It grows quietly. A child reaches for comfort and nobody notices. They share excitement and nobody celebrates with them. They cry and hear "stop being dramatic." Little by little, the heart learns a dangerous lesson. My feelings don't matter. The child doesn't stop needing love. They stop believing they'll receive it. Psychology calls this attachment. The first relationships in your life quietly become the blueprint for every relationship that follows. If love once felt unpredictable, your nervous system keeps expecting it to disappear. Even years later, when someone genuinely cares about you, part of your mind is already preparing for the goodbye. That's why some people struggle to believe compliments. Someone says, "I'm proud of you," and instead of feeling comfort, they wonder what the person really wants. Someone takes longer than usual to reply, and their mind immediately fills the silence with rejection. It isn't weakness. Their brain learned long ago that distance usually came before disappointment. Their nervous system is simply trying to protect them the only way it knows how. Another thing begins to happen. They become experts at reading people. A tiny change in tone, a forced smile, a sigh. They notice everything because as children, noticing wasn't a talent, it was survival. Years later, the child grows into an adult, but the radar never switches off. A simple okay text feels cold. A friend cancels dinner, and they assume they've done something wrong. Someone becomes busy for a few days, and their mind quietly whispers, "They're leaving." To everyone else, it looks like overthinking. To their nervous system, it's survival. The danger isn't happening in the present. It's the past replaying itself through every new relationship. Then something even quieter begins to shape their personality. They stop asking for help. They become the dependable one. The listener? The caretaker who always shows up for everyone else. People admire how independent they are, but what looks like strength is often protection. They learned very young that needing people usually ended in disappointment. So instead of risking rejection again, they convince themselves they don't need anyone at all. Independence becomes armor. And after wearing it long enough, they mistake it for who they really are. The hardest wound isn't loneliness, it's what loneliness teaches you to believe about yourself. Somewhere deep inside, the child reaches a painful conclusion. If I were more lovable, they would have loved me. That belief quietly follows them into adulthood. They work harder than everyone else. They become perfectionists. They overgive in relationships. They apologize too much. They struggle to say no because being useful feels safer than simply being loved. They're not chasing success. They're chasing proof that they're finally enough. Neuroscience gives us a remarkable insight. A child's brain develops through thousands of moments of emotional connection, eye contact, comfort, encouragement, feeling safe in someone else's presence. When those moments are consistently missing, the brain adapts to survive uncertainty instead of security. That's why healthy love can feel uncomfortable at first. Peace feels unfamiliar. Kindness feels suspicious. The body prepares for abandonment even when none is coming. It's not because they're broken, it's because Their nervous system never learned what safe love felt like. But here is the beautiful truth. The brain never stops learning. Healing doesn't happen because you suddenly forget your childhood. It happens because your nervous system slowly collects new evidence. Someone listens without judging you. A friend stays after you've made a mistake. You express your feelings and the relationship doesn't disappear. One safe moment cannot erase years of pain, but hundreds of safe moments begin to rewrite the story your younger self believed. That's why healing often feels uncomfortable. The first time someone loves you without asking you to earn it, part of you wants to run. The first time someone chooses to stay, you keep waiting for them to change their mind. Real love feels unfamiliar because survival taught you something very different. But unfamiliar doesn't mean unsafe. Sometimes it simply means you're experiencing what you should have received all along. Then, almost without noticing, something begins to change. You stop chasing people who only love you when you're useful. You stop confusing emotional chaos with genuine connection. You stop apologizing for taking up space. You begin speaking without asking permission. You finally understand that your worth was never determined by the people who couldn't give you what they themselves never learned to give. If you grew up feeling unseen, remember this: your childhood may explain your wounds, but it doesn't have to decide your future. The child inside you wasn't asking for perfection. They were asking for warmth, safety, and someone who would stay. Today you have the chance to become that safe place for yourself. Maybe healing isn't waiting for someone else to rewrite your story. Maybe healing begins the moment you stop believing you were ever the reason love felt absent. And perhaps the greatest gift you can give your younger self is finally telling them the truth they should have heard from the beginning. You were always worthy of being loved. Which part of this stayed with you the longest? Share it in the comments. And if this spoke to something deep inside you, subscribe to Teeh Psyche for more hidden psychology every week.